How
Hey,
are you?
how you doing, Dave?
Doing great. Nice to see you, my friend.
Nice to see you. It must be Monday.
It is indeed.
It's Conversations on the Green. Hi, everybody. I'm Avery Saltzman,
My name's David Eisner.
and we're the co-artistic directors of the Harold Green Jewish Theater Company. It's Monday, November 16th. It's 8 p.m., and we are
Live.
live. It's exciting. I look forward to these Mondays. I mean, we've
A
had
lot
some
of fun.
incredible guests over the past months, eh?
Yes. And today we have a very special guest.
We sure do.
We do. And I just wanted to say, if you want to make a comment or ask a question, just go to the right if you see a place to write it, or there's a link that will take you to a place to write it.
Also on the bottom of your screen, you'll see a link that to take you to, if you care to donate during this hour, you can. It's a good time for us, but things are tough with with live theater these days. We bring wonderful stuff virtually, but donations are always welcome. And if you have the wherewithal to do so to the next hour, we say we'd love you to. And who's our sponsor, Dave? You want to?
Yes, thank you very much. Sonny Goldstein from Goldstein Financial. We're so grateful for him. He's been a supporter of the Harold Green for the last few years, and he's sponsoring our Conversations on the Green. There he is right there. Thank you very much, Sonny Goldstein, for sponsoring the Conversations on the Green.
Okay, Dave, you have the honors. To introduce this our guests.
Sure. And you know what? We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the Green family. And the Green family, or at least our guest, wouldn't be here, which we'll find out from a couple of generations ago because of some Yiddish theater and where his grandparents met. But he's been a real passionate, amazing supporter in so many philanthropic areas, not including theater, but for us, for theater and his family, bringing the Harold Green Jewish Theater Company to life, and his support and passion through the years. We're very grateful to have as our special guest Harold Green's son, Cary Green.
Applause!
There he is.
Good evening, boys. How are you?
Good. A little l'chaim.
A little l'chaim to start. Let's get this started properly here.
Yes.
There you go.
Three boys from Mackenzie.
Three Manor boys.
And that's interesting. Three Manor boys.
Yeah.
It's funny. They're doing the Ontario Jewish Archives is now doing a retrospective and research on Bathurst Manor. Earlier, they did it in Kensington Market. Now it's Bathurst Manor.
That's a nutshell.
Fascinating.
Literally, that is a great progression.
Yes, you're right.
The core of the Jewish community started down in Kensington, and really so much of it moved up to Bathurst Manor in the late 50s and early 60s, and so much has flourished and come from that. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
How has it informed you growing up in Bathurst Manor compared to someone else? How do you think that's informed who you are?
Well, first of all, we were very lucky because it was a legitimate neighborhood. Everybody knew everybody. There was a lot of comfort. Didn't matter what street you're on. We were on Bitterroot, and you walk onto Acton or Brighton or Searle or Hove, or you cross Wilmington. You guys were on Evanston, and I with David
Maxwell.
On Maxwell. I mean, like everywhere in the neighborhood, there was a comfort zone, and people felt you grew up feeling safe. You felt everything was good. There was a natural warmth in that area. One thing that I really remember that really stuck out in my mind was we would go to my Bubba Thelma lived on Cavati, which is a couple blocks north of Overbrook, just on the west side of Wilmington, and we'd be there for all the high holidays. And I remember it was just such a warm feeling. You stand on the porch in front of her house, 24 Cavati, and you stand on the porch and you look in all the houses. And every house was the same, whether it was Rosh Hashanah dinner or whether it was a Seder or Hanukkah. It didn't make a difference, but everybody was celebrating. So there was this real sense of, I didn't know the term Yiddishkeit when I was a kid, but in retrospect, you realize what it was. And it had this real wonderful feeling to it. And look, there were a lot of people from similar backgrounds. And then, and later on you learned, and we knew because look at, 2/3 of my friends' parents, everybody spoke Yiddish. I had lots of friends that spoke Yiddish as a first language. They didn't learn English till kindergarten. And on top of that, with, you know, I think the demographics later on, I learned that every other household had at least one survivor parent.
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
I didn't know that.
So when you take a look at the influences of growing up in a neighborhood filled with survivors, a Jewish neighborhood, it gave you a very strong sense of yourself. And Mackenzie, okay, we weren't Rhodes Scholars there, but a lot of them came out of there. And you look at the success of people in business, in the arts, in philanthropy, like the success rate, the number of people that went on to professions, whether it was medicine or dentistry or accounting, whatever it was, there was a real pressure. I shouldn't say pressure, that's the wrong term. We have probably pressure, but also ethos of success. Education was of tantamount importance. Everybody was, pretty much first and, generation, some second generation people. And so there's a natural impact from that. And
I agree.
Your parents viewed you that sense of striving for excellence. I think that was paramount in the Jewish household, to strive for excellence and to do your best, I guess, Well,
people knew that education was portable.
Right.
And you especially came from, so many Jews of East European background, and whether the grandparents left because of pogroms, or parents came after the war as survivors, you knew you needed something that was portable to take with you. You needed a skill, and that's why education was so important. I mean, it was an all.
And as you said, it was an immigrant society, and first generation from immigrants.
Yeah.
They worked so hard to make a difference, as the immigrants did that came over, working so hard and building from nothing to something.
Where did your grandparents come from, Cary?
I'm sorry?
Where did your grandparents come from?
Well, I have unique. My grandmother on my dad's side, my Baba Fanny, came from Russia. She came over, die-hard Marxist, okay? Until Stalin in the 50s, really till they started murdering the Jewish intelligentsia, until they saw what really was going on there. She was a die-hard Marxist. My grandfather, and they came between World War I and II. My grandfather came from Poland. He was born in Warsaw, but lived in a town called Yezhov. My great-grandfather died when they were very young, so they were farmed out to different families in a couple small towns to look after the six kids, 5 brothers and a sister, and they also came in the early 20s. My dad was born in 26 here, so they probably came a few years before that. Then on my mom's side, my grandmother came over post-pogrom. She came over at 3 or 4 years old from somewhere in Galicia, I'm not sure where. And she once said to me, I said to her, Baba, I said, are you, I said, oh, you're Galicia, you're Polak. She goes, I'm not a Polak, I'm an Austro-Hungarian. I go, why? Because you were occupied for a year. But it was still better.
That goes back.
And and then my grandfather, my Zeta Mike, believe it or not, this was like Mayflower, was born in Oshawa. So lots of good offspring there. Mo, on our board, lots of good Oshawa people.
Yeah.
So that's where my family was from.
It's interesting. You mentioned Bathurst Manor, and then before that, it's Kensington, and Lipa was on Major, as my grandmother and grandfather on my mother's side was also on Major.
My grandmother too was on Major.
Oh, that's so interesting.
My grandparents were 213 Major, so they were between Harvard and Bloor.
Yeah,
I think 160 something, but I got to double check that.
Yeah.
But they were on Major Street, and your grandfather Lipa loved Yiddish theater, as did Fanny, and they met. Is this correct? In rehearsing or partaking in it?
They met. They were both actors in the Yiddish theater. It took place. The building that they met in was called the Labor Lyceum, and it was at Spadina and St. Andrews.
Very Zionist.
On the north, that's on the south. That would be the southwest corner. For a long time, it was a really huge, big Chinese restaurant. I can't remember which one, but it was a great restaurant. And then on the north side is the St. Andrews Street Congregation. There's a shul at the north. There was live theater there. as well on the northwest corner. It's just in. It's not right at the corner. I think it's just in, but within the first block. You know.
And so they loved theater. They acted in it. They met.
They act in it, and they also took in. Not only did they act, they act and they met and they carried on. But my grandmother was a singer as well, and apparently a dancer. And she was a little more on the left. She was in, I think, in the communist or the Marxist Yiddish underground theater, as well as mainstream Jewish theater. So, you know, it
was in the basement.
Serious legacy. What's that? With the police?
He performed in the basement for the underground.
Yeah. They did. My father used to talk about playing dodgeball when they were kids. And what that was is my grandmother would take them to the May Day rally, which was like celebrating, you know, the Soviet Union at the time. And my dad said the police would charge to break up these rallies with, you know, on horseback. So they called it playing dodgeball because they were looking up and the horses were. That was their version. That was Major Street dodgeball. And but listen, that was the world. That was the community as I understood it back then. And
so your dad grew up loving the arts?
Well, my dad is an oil painter. My dad used to teach oil painting in our house. He was a sculptor as well.
Wow.
His brother, my uncle Al, was a great sculptor. My grandfather sculpted. There was some stuff in his house. So there was always there was something that was going on. And then they brought in, I mean, their house was very well known because basically if you were a Yiddishist and you were a musician or a writer or a singer or an actor and you had no place to go, they stayed at they would stay at Leap and Fanny's house.
Some amazing names. Amazing names.
Isaac Bishop Singer.
Yep.
Richard Tucker, great opera star. Yiddish, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Jacob Adler. Yeah.
Jacob Adler. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's phenomenal. And how did that play onto you? I mean, you weren't born yet, or were you?
No, we weren't born yet. My parents, my mom in particular, my mother, Miriam, really tried to imbue a sense of culture into her boys. Okay, it was a lost cause. Like, you know, like my father would just like roll his eyes because, you know, he felt badly for my mom trying to work with these, you know, three geniuses.
I have to read this. This was an article that we had for our 10th anniversary, and you say Harold and Miriam both enjoyed the arts. Cary says his mom tried very hard to imbue a sense of culture in her kids. I would say she was mostly unsuccessful.
Yeah, unsuccessful, very much so.
Yeah.
So, listen, it's that's the way it is. We had other things we were interested. We loved going to movies. And our parents, like, there was always music playing in the house. My parents loved music, and there was, you know, they would take us to plays, and I think there was the obligatory Nutcracker Suite when we lived once. I don't think my parents would ever do that again. It was just like.
Yeah.
Like
a culture clash.
You know, yeah. It was. You know what? It wasn't fair to us. It wasn't fair to the people on stage, and it wasn't fair to anybody sitting near us. So, you know, it's like, you know,
that's funny.
Why go through the abuse? But you know what? Look, it rubbed off one way or another. You know, it rubbed off. I can say, you know,
this was a nice shidduch between Avery and I, and you and Kevin. It was a nice shidduch in the sense that it came around.
Yeah.
Thanks to you guys, we were able to.
Oh, and I'm leaving my sister out because I think I think by the time my sister was probably old enough to try to get that sense of culture into her, I think they'd given up. Well, Robin's 7 years younger than me. I think by then, I think they were like burnt out. I said, you know what? I think, you know what? She'll find it. She'll have to find it on her own. But it was great. It was great to grow up with that.
Yeah. not only I know not only this was a gift to your dad, I mean, to give his name to our theater company, but you also did this with a big part was to have your mom in mind too, because she
listen, my mom was on the board right from the beginning, and she it was great. She won one of our meetings the other day. She was there. I was at her house.
Look at that.
There you
Beautiful.
go. There we go. That's great. And don't those look like culture hounds? Look at these two, me and Kevin. It's like
a great picture.
But we all tried, and look at the end of the day, it was at the end of the day, I have to say, despite our resistance, the impact was really made, and that was that was their goal. And you're right. And my mom, we're so happy to have my mom involved, right from the beginning, and she's enjoyed it, and she loved it. Like, she really loved doing it and participating. And it is very much a tribute to her. It's my, it's in my dad's name, but the push was from my mom.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Does it still does it still resonate that it's that the Harold Green Jewish Theater Company? Or has it become second nature, or does it still? There he is. Look at your dad. I'm sorry we never got a chance to meet him, but
is it second nature? Yeah. I mean, I listen, I love the fact that, so many people in the city participate. I know that we average between 15 and 18,000 seats filled in a season. I mean, that's like phenomenal. Like, if you think about the impact on the Jewish community, and that's what this was about. It was to tell the Jewish stories, first and foremost, for continuity, as a way, because everybody's not going to go to Hebrew school, and everybody's not going to go to day school, and everybody's doesn't necessarily come from homes that have a lot of Yiddishkeit in them. But stories are easy for people to digest, and it's really, really important so that the values and the stories and the history is carried on in this manner. And I think it's absolutely fantastic. And
I mean, I was one of those. I mean, David could attest. I mean, I didn't grow up in a Jewish household at all, Jewish by culture and faith, but I learned so much more about the Jewish kite and Yiddishisms
Jewish
and
history. Yeah.
It's Jewish history through the Harold Green. So that was me. I mean, it's a huge education and a beautiful education too.
Then we were a success with you, so it was already okay.
Oh, here's Miriam. Here's your mom.
No, Anita Sherman.
Oh, this is Anita Sherman.
Oh,
a regular viewer. This is so wonderful to hear your history in regards to your mom.
Thank you, Anita
Sherman.
Thank you. And so I was starting to say, when you've got that kind of participation from the Jewish community, there's very few Jewish events or Jewish organizations or synagogues that would have that kind of cumulative attendance for a Jewish experience in the course of the year. So we have, obviously that wasn't, that's not something we would have ever thought about, but when you look at it and you realize, guess what, guys, this is a major part of the community. Yeah. And the beautiful thing is that we've gone way beyond the Jewish community. People watching our guests and our patrons are of basically representative of all of Toronto. So every different, religion and faith group and nationality, and it's great and it's fun. And look at also the fact that you guys, okay, as your artistic directors and co-artistic directors, have our theater working with other theater companies from different backgrounds, whether Obsidian and some of the other ones,
Tarragon.
And Tarragon. So it brings in other other parts of the community to come and watch our shows, and it exposes our community to other types of theater. And I think that's huge. I think that's
Definitely.
What a gift to Toronto, never mind just to the Jewish community, but to Toronto in general and to people in general. Because listen, people don't know about other people. Unfortunately, people tend to go to the negative side of their viewpoint. So they hear negative things. Exposing the Jewish community and our history and that to the public in this manner is great. I think you guys are doing. I think you're doing great.
Oh, that's kind of. Well, what are some of your favorite shows through the years that ring a bell that you go, that really left an impact. Some of them are entertaining, some of them are challenging.
Yeah, to this day, I think that Whipping Man was the most impactful on me. But you know, I mean, can I tell you that the truth is, there wasn't a single show that I really didn't love. Okay, like I enjoyed and felt proud to be associated with every single show that that was there, right from the beginning, and so I think that aspect of the theater, I think you guys have been really successful. I think, what have we done, 60 shows or something? Like, that's a lot of shows, and we're in the 14th year.
Yeah.
So we have a lot to be proud of. Like, there's a lot of theater companies, you know what? That's a really long run. A lot of them don't.
Absolutely, especially something we all built from day one. I mean, it didn't exist. We built this company, all of us together, and it was a joy. What surprised you the most about theater? I mean, actually, the producing of theater. I mean, because it's like a new language for a lot of people. If you don't,
I love to read scripts, but unfortunately, I still read them two-dimensionally. Okay, I still have not been able to figure out how to read a script, and I can't visualize it. So, I like to come to the early shows or pre-shows and stuff like that to see how stuff is coming out. I love how the stages are built. I think it's
Is that a relative?
Is that your son?
Is that your son?
Daniel, yeah.
Yeah. I still think about Whipping Man. What an amazing production.
Watching. So, like, I love all parts of the production. I love how it comes together. Look, we're in the development business and construction business. There's a lot of a lot of similarities. You start from a set of plans. You got to find the trades. You guys find the actors and the directors and the music people, and what's the
set designer.
What set designers? What's the thing called that actually ties it all together? There's that name I never remember.
Well, the production manager.
No.
Stage manager?
Traj or Taj. And someone will think of it, if not now, you'll think of it at 3 a.m. That's great. It'll come to you. We'll edit it back in. But no, I enjoy the whole process of it. And the best part of our theater is, look, we have done things that are like shows, but with theater, I find the best thing is that after the shows, when people are grouped together, arguing with each other, that it should have ended this way, should have ended that way, or this person should have done this, because it gets under your skin, it gets into you, and that's what we want. We want people to be, want to have enjoyment, but you want them engaged, provoked, angry sometimes. Like, you really want, like, great theater to me, it's intimate and it covers the emotional spectrum, and that's what you want. And so for us to have a great show, that's what it is, and the last thing you want is indifference, or people,
absolutely.
But to me, that's a disaster. Yeah, I liked it, and they walk away. Like, that's a disaster. That's so I think that aspect of theater and that we bring, and that the topics that we cover, we don't shy away from a lot of stuff.
No.
And I think it's been really terrific.
We've also had some wonderful talks after the plays. And a few times we've had your father-in-law, Nate Leipzinger, talk. I think one was Janusz Korczak.
Let's have a l'chaim to Nate, because at 5:00 every day, Nate, my brother-in-law Svi, and my son Daniel, they're getting together and they have their daily l'chaim. So, boys, thanks for not inviting me, but you guys anyhow.
No, he's an amazing man, Nate. I mean, how old is he?
But he's sorry if I'm frozen.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a remarkable human being.
And you've went with him to go to Auschwitz twice now, have you not? Have you gone to?
We actually went. I met him there in November of '90, and Auschwitz hadn't been open to the public. It was still closed off. It was collapsing. That was the reason he was there, especially the buildings in Birkenau. Auschwitz was in better shape, but Birkenau was literally falling apart. And Nate was invited by Canadian Jewish Congress or World Jewish Congress to be part of a committee to start, how do we preserve and how do you preserve it in an appropriate manner.
Wow.
And he was on that trip by himself. And anyhow, I found out about it. There's a great Nate. And I decided to join him and meet him up on that trip. He hadn't been back in a long time, and we had a remarkable trip together. And as a son-in-law, it was an incredible experience. We spent a number of days at the camps in meetings, and then we also drove around. He took me. We found the town of Yezhov that I mentioned earlier, where my grandfather was, and it really was. It was a shtetl. Like, you could see the town. And we're driving in, we're a few kilometers away, and it's just fields. It's a very rural area. And he points out a building and he goes, "That's the synagogue."
Wow.
And sure enough, we got there, and the synagogue was being turned into a library. So we were very, very happy. Not many synagogues had such a positive fate, unfortunately. And even the cemetery, the Jewish cemetery in the back of the town, was intact. It wasn't maintained, but it was intact. It wasn't vandalized or damaged or anything along those lines. So that was quite a trip. And then we went in '95 on the 50th anniversary of his anniversary. We went with my mother-in-law Bernice, with Lisa and Steve, and Arlen Svi, my sister-in-laws and brother-in-laws, and my late wife Rhonda. And we went to visit not just the camps, but Nate wanted to show us where he grew up, that there was before the war. And it was really, really impactful. And I was going to go from, ironically, just this past year as a survivor liaison on the March to the Living. It's going to be his 20th or 21st trip out on the March to the Living. But unfortunately, because of COVID, the trip got canceled. But it would have been nice, because it was 30 years earlier that we were there together.
Oh, really?
So
wow.
I would have really liked to be on that opportunity, because I'd never seen him on the March to the Living and the role that he plays. But I'm just aware of the impact that he's had on tens of thousands of young people over the years. So I would have really liked to do that. Well, next year. So
next year,
2021. So it'll be 31 years after our first trip together.
That is truly remarkable. Yeah, and what he's done so far as education, and as you have as well with the cattle car and shadow
light. That's and I was involved in that for 5 months, and then I'm decide to see what it's really all about. And I go online, I see that Nate's part of it, like a major part of it.
Oh, really?
Wow. It was wonderful to be involved in something,
I don't know I don't know what shadow light is. Maybe what is that?
Right now, so what it is, it was a Jordana Leibowitz.
Right.
Just an incredible young person. You know what? I feel very secure about our future. What I see my own kids, and I see people like Jordana and other members of my family and our friends' kids, and you see what's going on. And she came up with this idea. She took a rail car that was used as a set for a Holocaust movie. She got it, and they turned in this incredible audiovisual production inside. You go into a cattle car.
Wow.
And just the way they do it, they take you go on a trip. It's the last trip that people took, and brings in the history of what had gone on. It's marvelous. I was very happy. My daughter asked me to get involved with it, and Greenwood involved with it. We did, and we're very, very, very proud of where it is. I think right now it's at the Witchwood Barns.
Yeah,
they're just west of Bathurst, and it's being housed there right now. So people can go in and see it. You have to reserve, because you can only go in 10 people at a time because of COVID. But this is a phenomenal educational tool. She's going to be working with friends of Simon Wiesenthal. Like, it's, you know what, there's so much great stuff happening. And it's great to see the next generation stepping up.
Well, how beautiful that you and Rhonda passed that on to your kids. It was never, I guess it must have been because of Nate. It must have been Mark Anshin. I was with Nate on the MOL Amazing Experience.
March of the Living.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
But it'll be 2 years for Rhonda, I think.
January 28th.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the two of you must have imbued this openness to your kids. I mean, having Nate around and stuff, it was something that was never hidden, but it must have been just talked about openly and lovingly and and such.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much part of your family. Nate and Bernice, Nate spoke about the Holocaust to the kids from the time they were very, very, very little. And he did it in what I would call very sensitive, age-appropriate name. I remember Daniel couldn't have been more than 3 years old, and he sees the number on Nate's arm, and he asked him, he said, Zeta, what's that? And Nate's response was, a bad man did it. Okay, that was it. Just, he's 3 years old. He's not going to explain Nazis and anti-Semitism. A bad man did, and that was it. And you know, it built. It almost got me killed. I remember whereas I was in a McDonald's with Daniel. There's like these huge bikers are like at the counter in front of us, and Daniel's, and they're covered in tattoos. And Daniel's, I don't know, 3, 4 years old, whatever he was, and he's yelling, bad man, bad man. I'm going, what the hell? Oh, like, keep it down. Tattoos. So I realized he's pointing to the tattoos. He's like, a bad man did it. So, you know, other than that, but it was a start to an education and strong influence on all my kids. All my kids have participated in the March of the Living numerous times. Jen is involved in all kinds of different Holocaust programming. My son Daniel went and volunteered and served in the paratroops in Israel. And it was after hearing Nate speak at a outside of his barrack in Auschwitz, in Birkenau, actually, in the Birkenau part. And, you know, it just had a very strong impact. And my son said to me, he said, Dad, he says, I knew I can't do anything about our past, but I had to do my share to protect people. And he went and, you know, life
you have
do so.
And you have a really strong relationship with Israel as well as your brother.
Yeah, our whole family does.
Yes,
you know? And it's you know, with Kevin is, you know, really the moving force behind the Israel Tennis Centers and the Israel Children's Centers. He's international chair. I've always been on the board so they can get a vote, you know, with me. And but they're doing remarkable stuff. There's 15 centers, like from down in Sderot, which is at the Gazan border, right up to I think Kiryat Shimona, underneath the Syrian or Lebanese border. And these are just phenomenal centers. And you know, they started initially as tennis. My dad and guys in his generation started them off because you had mostly North African immigrants coming in, nothing for the kids to do. They were in these development towns in the south, and these guys were builders, and they played tennis here. And they said, "How hard is it?" They got the climate. We'll go put up tennis courts and send over rackets and get an instructor. And it grew to where it's like the Boys and Girls Clubs of America. They've got programs, just unbelievable amount of programs that they do for the kids: education, computer, life skills, dealing with poverty. They have coexistence programs that, you know, makes you cry when you see, and they bring the kids here, but when you see Palestinian kids and Ethiopian kids and Russian kids, Israeli kids, Arab kids, Druze kids, all playing together. I mean, that's the future, right? That's what's so. What else? Where's the hope? If you can't get kids of different cultures playing together, there's no hope for the future. Because if everybody stays estranged from one another and in their own little worlds, and that's all that they see, and they listen to the garbage that they get from their parents or from their leaders or whatever it is, you can't break down barriers. It's no different than, we have the same stuff in Toronto. We run programs up at San Romanoway, Jane and Finch, and Jane and Wilson at the Oaks, 40 programs a day between the buildings and stuff like that. And the idea is get kids to play together, to learn together. Like these are all important things. And you know, we're a family business. We've got family values. Our staff really keeps those values amongst everybody, and you know, and everybody's involved in community giving back.
Was your dad very community oriented? Did he have a lot of charity that he dealt with?
Hugely. Like my dad's the things that the places that my dad really put his effort into the most, outside of like the tennis centers, were Mount Sinai Hospital and the Y. those were his two passion projects. He said to me, I can build apartments in my sleep. I want to do something that's really benefiting not just the people living there, but the whole city.
Community.
And
Yeah.
And
What an incredible legacy that your folks gave to you and your family. It's quite phenomenal, and I think not of the norm, to have that passion that's been passed down from generation to generation in the Green family.
we had it on all sides. I mean, on my mother's side, my grandfather, who I worked with when I was 12 down at Queen and Dufferin, my grandfather was a Mason, so he was always involved in community stuff. My grandmother was, I think it was called the Philodons, which was like a women's organization that raised money for various things like that. And I remember my grandmother telling me, my Baba Thelma telling me that, she said, nobody had money, but people always had less, so we could always find to give to somebody else. And that was, that was a very simple, Jewish value, that you give and you give back. And it's translated itself, I guess down to the fourth generation now, like to my children, and God willing, we'll see what where my grandchildren are.
Wow.
So.
How many grandkids now?
I have 3, thank God, so far.
Beautiful. Wow.
Gabriel, you guys are great. That's Ben.
So cute.
That's Ben, yeah, and Callie. Oh my goodness.
Oh my God, they're all gorgeous.
They are. They are.
Yeah.
And a grand dog, Denver, who you don't have on there, but that's so yeah, very, very, not just proud of, just love them to death. Like this, grandkids are the best.
Yeah.
Like my father said, if I could have found a way to skip you guys and go to the grandkids, he would have. I actually liked my kids, so I wouldn't have done that. But my father definitely had a point. I would have skipped us too if I could have.
You see his perspective as well.
100%.
Yeah.
Where would you like to see the Herald Green go, let's say, in the next 5-10 years? What would really make your heart soar? If you had...
I think I'd like to see the capacity for larger shows, larger plays, like, having the opportunity to bring in little bigger casts. I think it generates excitement. I'm not taking anything away from what we call the 1, 2, and 3 handers, like 1, 3, because they're remarkable. But I think it would be nice. I love the fact that we are now global and international. That maybe you guys have talked about it and told people.
No, we haven't. So this will be kind of the first time. We're just getting ready for the creative. But if you want to mention it,
sure. So we're I'm talking to an audience. So we're now moving because of COVID. COVID, as opposed to being as a restriction, we kind of turned it around and looked at it as an opportunity. And as opposed to being in a fixed theater with live audiences and playing to the community we play to, we've gone global. We realized that through virtual communication, virtual theater, we could do stuff. And what we're really doing now, which is great, and we've always brought in, first of all, we've brought in plays, from Israel and Russia and different places. We try to, broaden stuff. But now we've connected up through David and Avery. They've reached out to Jewish theaters really around the world. You guys will tell us the countries that are involved. And we're going to be doing a Hanukkah program, a Hanukkah show with them. And it's great because Toronto and Canadian Jews get exposure now to the music and the background of Jews in all these different countries. So why don't you guys tell the countries that it's on?
Yeah, I don't want to leave anyone out. We have Moscow and Poland. We have Moscow, Poland.
Moscow with the it's called the Shalom Theater in Moscow.
Yeah, Poland.
From Warsaw.
Yeah, Mexico, and
yes.
Hungary.
From Budapest. Yeah, the Golem Theater.
From the Volksbühne Theater, the Yiddish Theater in New York. Dave, we're missing.
Okay, we have three companies in Israel.
Yeah.
We have the Khan Theater, which is a remarkable, beautiful venue. It's sort of so historical. It goes back to biblical times. And that's in Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And then we also have the Arab Hebrew Jaffa Theater in Jaffa.
Right.
And we have the Nefesh Theater, who was started by a Torontonian, and we're going to have now he works out in Israel for the last more than a dozen years. We have a beautiful Ethiopian singer.
And we have Australia, a theater company from Australia.
Australia, the major Jewish theater company from Sydney, Australia.
So it's quite exciting.
Around the world now. So so the Harold Green Jewish Theater Company is, we've gone global.
Yeah.
And these are great offerings to bring people. Yeah. And because it gives us an opportunity. Listen, what do we know from Hanukkah songs here? Dreidel, 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 and I want to be a Maccabee. And
there you go.
That's our full repertoire. And now we're going to be bringing in, songs and theater from around the world.
Sunday, December 6th.
Sorry?
Yeah. In the afternoon.
Sunday, December 6th. It will be the day that we'll be airing it. More to come, I think, next week. We'll really give a big, strong push.
Yeah.
But it's great because we've made connections with these theaters too. And I think hopefully it'll continue beyond just simply the concert, which is great. It will continue, and I think it's nice. You feel connected.
Well, I'm very glad, because what we're going to miss this year is, like, the Green family. We have at my mom's house, my mom and dad's house. Every year we have a Hanukkah party, usually about plus or minus 100 people, and it's a blend of food. And do you know what a Kaylee is? Do you guys know what a Kaylee is?
From out east?
Really, from out east. They call like a kitchen party and kitchen music. Yeah. And that's what it is. And we've got family members performing, and we're like unbelievable, from like a lot of very professional musicians, like the super talent within our own family.
That's incredible.
My kids are like me, so they're clappers. We're the audience. We're not performers.
Yeah.
That's cool.
My ability. What's that?
That's so cool. Next year we'll do a Hanukkah Kaylee.
Yeah.
We'll do a Hanukkah Kaylee. I'm telling you, it's be unbelievable.
Yeah. Hey, I don't want
to music, Celtic and Jewish, man. It's like
cool.
Celtic and Yiddish, Kiddush.
Kiddush.
We'll have Celtic. Yeah. We're all yellers, so we'll have Celtic music.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but I mean, Rhonda was extraordinary. I know you lost her a couple years ago, but even, I mean, towards, when I know she was in pain, but she always there. I know it's hard to see, but look at you with the beard. And there's your mom and Kevin and your dad and Denise and Nate. And, oh my God. So I know she's gone a couple years. Oh, look at that. Beautiful picture.
Thank you.
A beautiful lady inside and out. She was so supportive.
So supportive.
I remember seeing her so many times at the theater. Yeah.
Yeah. So strong. And she was a force there. Look at that. Oh my God, Cary, look at that picture.
My grandkids are that age now. That's just amazing.
Wow, that's right. A great time.
Where did you meet Rhonda?
Picture. Through Jeff and Leslie Morrison. Mo's one of our board members. Up through Jeff and up at York University.
Oh, very cool.
I was at York.
Wow.
We met. She was
how old were you?
I was 22 and Rhonda was 19. So we were together. We celebrated the 40th anniversary first date on January 6th, 2019. So I was very, 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 very blessed in my life.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What
a Hulk. That?
What a Hulk. That's painting her farm. That's painting a barn or the garage up at Rhonda's farm.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I recognize these pictures.
Well, this has been a great just to talk with you and stuff of this and share your past with our audience and stuff. And before we leave, I just want to say that this has been an extraordinary gift that you have given David and I. I mean, I know you have for the community and to your family and but it's been an extraordinary gift to David and I, and we're forever grateful. And I don't think it ever goes unnoticed in our hearts that what you've given us to do with the latter parts of our, season 60. So, I mean, I don't want to speak for both of us, but it's been a true gift for us. Hey, Dave? That's
very true. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We feel blessed.
I don't get all overly schmaltzy here, but you guys have also delivered, what we set out and then some,
Wow.
15 years ago when we first started talking about it.
Yeah.
So I think it's been a great relationship. I think it's been, a tribute to the manor.
I think so too.
you to the Manor.
Well, listen, what was Mrs. Pierce, your theater arts teacher, Jay? Our theater arts would probably be very proud to see what you guys have done.
Yes, she was. And before we go, I want to introduce Matt, our GM, who's backstage running the show. Matt, you want to say hi? Hey, Matt.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Matt, if you'll give me 1 minute, I really want to thank all of our board and our committees and all the people who've really been behind the scenes and volunteering and putting their time in and really helping to make the theater itself such a great place. Our past presidents, Howard and Deanie, for the kind of commitment that they put in. Danny, our current president, our president during COVID. And so, nothing happens in a void. Nothing happens by accident. And I think it's the synthesis of the input of all the people who've had a part has really created, what the Harold Green Jewish Theater has become. And, we look forward. Let's get more people involved, more shows. And all I can say to you guys is, what can I tell you? And,
there you go. And speaking of more shows, just before we get to the end, I said a week this Sunday. Is that right, Dave?
November 22nd, Sunday, November 22nd at 8 p.m. 7:30.
We have, the amazing Amy Sky. She's going to perform with two of her musicians, and she's remarkable. She's going to do it out of her house, and she's going to add a little Hebrew, some great music over the years. She's worked with Olivia Newton-John, and so many. She's a writer, producer, singer.
Well, yeah. So November 22nd, 7:30, you can buy your tickets, $36 at hgjewishtheater.com. So,
you will love it.
Yeah, and Cary, we always finish these conversations with the Harold Green lightning round. So it's one or two answers, questions. So first question, what do you put on your latkes, applesauce or sour cream?
Both.
Okay.
Ooh. On your bagel and cream cheese. Lux or nothing?
If I can, Christopson's Lux.
They're good.
Favorite Jewish comedian?
Oh God.
One of them. It's hard.
You know what? It is because I love the guys in the Borscht Belt. I love the guys in the 60s. I love the guys up today, Seinfeld and Larry David and oh my God, one of my favorite, who does the Hanukkah song about the
Adam Sandler.
Adam,
brilliant. Yeah.
Like there's so much talent, in that. I really don't have. I can't. A
little overwhelming.
Go ahead, Dave.
Favorite film could be growing up, or just favorite film that you remember. Impactful film.
One, Fiddler.
Cool.
Beautiful.
On your pizza, pineapple on your pizza, yes or no?
Ugh, doesn't belong there.
Okay. This is good.
Do you have a tattoo?
Do I have a tattoo?
I asked you first.
Oh, no, sorry.
Okay.
No, I have a tattoo, no.
And last question, if you had one word for the future of humanity, what would that word be?
Love.
Beautiful.
Can't beat that.
Well, listen, thank you, my friend, for the last 15 years and for the last 50 minutes. It was great. And to all, next week, we have Vitaly Beckman, an incredible illusionist that we were supposed to do live at our theater, maybe next year. But he's an illusionist from Israel. He'll be our guest next week at 8 p.m. on the Conversations with the Green. So to all of you who have watched tonight, thank you so much. Remember AB Sky. And from me, Cary, Dave, and Matt, we say good night. Thank you so much. Good night, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Good night. Thank you.